My name's Leah. I'm 24 and live in Mesa, Arizona. I've never been the kind of person to get easily paranoid, and honestly I've always felt pretty safe living here. But what happened to me and my best friend Amanda one night couple of months ago changed that. It was one of the only times in my life I've actually thought we were in real danger. Like serious danger, not from some random creep, but from people who do this kind of thing professionally. It was a Thursday and we'd just gotten off work at the call center we both worked at. We finished around 6:30 p.m. and we were too tired to cook, so we decided to grab dinner somewhere nearby. We landed on KFC, specifically the one on Southern Avenue near Fiesta Plaza. We'd been there plenty of times before and never had any problems. We parked up front, walked in, and ordered our food. The restaurant wasn't too busy. A few people were in the drive-thru and maybe 2 tables were taken inside. We got our food, sat down by the window, and just started eating and talking like we always do. A few minutes later, 2 men walked in. They didn't order anything. They looked around for a bit, then sat at the booth across from us, maybe 10 or 12 feet away. One was wearing a black hoodie, and the other had a baseball cap pulled low and sunglasses on, even though the sun was already setting. At first we just assumed they were waiting for someone, but then I started to notice that they kept looking at us. Not like a quick glance either. Long, direct stares, like they were watching how we moved, watching what we were wearing. Amanda noticed too. She texted me under the table, asking if I thought the guys were staring too much. I responded with a yes, but told her to keep calm and act like everything was normal. We finished eating, and even though we were both uncomfortable, we didn't want to overreact. We threw out our trash and walked back to the car. That's when I saw it. The same 2 guys had walked out maybe a minute before us, and now they were standing by a dark-colored SUV near the edge of the parking lot. One of them had a cigarette in his hand, but he wasn't smoking it. He was just holding it, staring at us again like before. We got into the car quickly and locked the doors. Amanda started the engine. As soon as we pulled out, the SUV's lights turned on and it pulled out too. We weren't sure at first. Could have been coincidence. Maybe they were just leaving too. But Amanda made a couple random turns just to be safe. She turned right instead of left, then took another right through a quiet neighborhood. The SUV followed every turn exactly. Not close but steady. No signals. No attempt to pass. At this point we knew we were being followed. Amanda stayed calm and drove toward my apartment complex about 10 minutes away. But we didn't actually go in. Instead, we drove right past the entrance and circled around the next block. The SUV stayed with us. Amanda didn't even whisper. She just said, "We're not going home. Not until they're gone." We kept driving for nearly 20 minutes. Every time she'd switch directions or pull into a shopping plaza, the SUV would either follow or wait nearby like they didn't want to lose us. We finally pulled into a Circle K gas station, parked under one of the big overhead lights, and went straight inside. The store clerk looked at us kind of weird because we were clearly shaken. We told him someone had been following us since dinner and asked if we could wait inside for a while. He said yes without hesitation and even told us he'd seen the SUV pull in and park in the far corner of the lot. We stood near the refrigerated drinks section, trying not to panic. The SUV didn't leave. After about 10 minutes, Amanda went up to the counter and asked the guy if he could call the police. He said yes and handed her the store phone. Mesa PD arrived about 12 minutes later. The SUV pulled out of the lot and disappeared down the street just before the officers arrived. We told the police everything. Starting at KFC, the strange behavior inside, the way they stared at us, how they followed every turn, and how they sat in that parking lot like they were waiting for something. The officer didn't laugh or brush it off. He just looked at us for a moment and asked if we had noticed anything else. Amanda mentioned that one of the guys had taken a photo of her on his phone when we were getting up from the table. She'd seen it in the reflection of the window. The officer wrote everything down and said something that honestly chilled both of us. It's possible those guys weren't random creeps. Sometimes groups linked to human trafficking or drug operations hang around places like that. They look for easy targets. It's not common, but it happens. That hit hard. He explained that sometimes these people scout in pairs. One distracts or watches while the other handles the rest. They wait until someone's alone, follow them, and see where they live. If things feel too public, they bail and try again another time. He said we absolutely did the right thing by not going home. If we had pulled into our complex, they might have followed in behind us and waited. Or worse, after the officers took our statement, they stayed in the area for a bit to see if the SUV came back. Didn't. They offered to follow us home, and we took them up on it. They made sure no one was waiting near the entrance and even waited until we were inside before they left. Amanda stayed at my place that night. Neither of us slept much. We still don't know who those guys were or what they wanted. But we haven't eaten inside a fast food restaurant at night since. We only ever do drive-through now, and we always check our surroundings. We don't go straight home after. We always watch to see if anyone's behind us. We don't take chances anymore. If you think you're being followed, don't doubt yourself. Don't try to brush it off like we almost did. Listen to your gut. It might be the only reason we're okay. My name's Andrew. I'm 26 and I live in Bakersfield, California. This happened not too long ago, on a Saturday night in mid-October. I remember it clearly because I almost didn't go out that night. I just finished a long shift and didn't feel like cooking, so I decided to drive over to the KFC on Union Avenue and grab something quick before heading home. It was around 9 p.m. when I pulled into the parking lot. The place wasn't too busy. The lobby lights were still on, and a couple of cars were in the drive-through lane. I parked closer to the side of the building, near the edge of the lot where it gets kind of dark by the dumpsters. There weren't many open spots left out front, and I was just planning to run in and out. I didn't notice anything weird at first. I got out of my car, locked it, and headed into the restaurant. There were maybe 3 other people inside, 2 teens sitting near the window and a woman waiting for a to-go order. Everything seemed normal. I ordered a 3-piece combo, filled my drink, and sat at the table farthest from everyone else. I was kind of exhausted and just wanted to eat in peace. A few minutes in, I noticed something weird through the window. Out past the trash enclosure, in the dimly lit corner of the lot, I saw a guy just standing there. He was right by the dumpster, not digging through it, not throwing anything away, just standing still, facing the wall. I kept glancing out at him and he didn't move once. It was weird because he wasn't facing the building. He wasn't trying to hide either. He was just out there in a shadowed corner with his hood up, not moving. At one point, I saw him turn very slowly, like just pivoting, and now he was staring toward the windows of the restaurant. I felt uneasy, so I pulled my phone out and just kept eating slower, trying not to make it obvious that I was watching him. I thought maybe he was just someone passing through, or maybe a homeless guy looking for food, which isn't rare in that part of town. But here's when it got more uncomfortable. After about 10 minutes, he started walking, not toward the front door, but around the side of the building toward the side exit near where I parked. I stood up and watched from the door. He walked right past my car. Then he stopped, and he just stared at it. I was immediately on alert. I had locked my car, but I still didn't want to walk out there with him right next to it. I stayed inside and waited, pretending to get a refill just to have an excuse to stick around. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. He wasn't just near my car. He was crouching by my rear tire now. I couldn't see exactly what he was doing because of the angle, but it looked like he was messing with something low on the driver's side. I grabbed the attention of the girl at the counter and asked if they had cameras outside. She said yes, but she didn't know how to access them. I asked her to call the manager. By the time the manager came out, some young guy who looked like he didn't want to deal with any of it, the man outside was gone. I walked over to the side window and saw no sign of him. I told the manager what I saw, and he just said, "Yeah, sometimes weird people hang around that back area. You should always park up front." I didn't want to wait around much longer, so I asked one of the teens inside if they could just walk out with me to my car. They agreed, kind of amused but chill about it. We walked out together, and right as we got to my car, I looked down. There was something small and metal jammed up behind my back tire, like a spike strip but homemade. 2 nails duct taped to a piece of cardboard and wedged in a way that I probably wouldn't have seen it in the dark. It was set just right so that if I backed out, I'd likely blow a tire or damage it badly. We didn't see the guy anywhere, but I didn't care. I pulled the trap out, got in my car, and drove home. I kept checking my mirrors the whole way. I didn't sleep much that night. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how calculated that was. He must have seen me park alone, watched me go inside, and planned something. If I had come out when I first finished eating, I would have walked out alone, probably stepped over him without noticing, and maybe even backed into that trap. And who knows what could have happened once I was stranded. I called the non-emergency police line later that night to report it. I never found out who the guy was or if anything came of it. But now I never park in dark corners at night, and I always check behind my tires before I leave anywhere. My name's Rachel, and back when I was in college, I worked part-time at a KFC in Wilmington, North Carolina. The night this happened was a Tuesday during the summer of 2019. I remember the date clearly because it was the first shift I had without my usual manager, Mike, and instead we had this guy named Tyler running things. He was decent and laid back, but honestly not very sharp when it came to keeping an eye on the store. That night there were 5 of us on the shift. I was at the front counter. Jasmine was running drive-through. Luis was on fryers. Devon handled trash and dishes, and Tyler, as manager, was mostly in the office or floating around. It was pretty slow that evening, like most Tuesdays after 7. Around 7:15, an older man came into the restaurant. He looked to be in his 60s, had a rough beard, and was wearing a worn army-style jacket with jeans that looked like he'd been wearing them for days. He didn't say a word when he walked in. He didn't even look around the restaurant or check the menu. He just walked straight past the counter and headed into the hallway that leads to the bathrooms in the back. Jasmine called after him to let him know orders were taken up front, but he didn't stop or even acknowledge her voice. He just kept going and disappeared into the men's room. At first, we didn't think much of it. Sometimes people just need to use the bathroom quickly and plan to order after. But 15 minutes passed and he hadn't come out. I brought it up to Tyler and he just shrugged and said maybe the guy was sick or had stomach issues. I figured that might be the case, but it still felt off for some reason. It was just too quiet back there. Around 7:45, a woman and her little boy came in and the kid immediately ran toward the back before she could stop him. Maybe 30 seconds later, he came back into the lobby crying. He wasn't just fussy or annoyed, he was full-on scared. He kept saying that there was someone in the bathroom standing in the dark and not moving. He said the man was just standing still, not talking, and not using the bathroom, just standing there in the dark. At that point, Tyler decided to go check it out. He walked down the hallway and opened the bathroom door. He came back and told us it was completely empty. There was nobody inside. That didn't make any sense. I had seen the man walk in with my own eyes and there was no back exit in that bathroom. It's a dead-end hallway with no way to sneak past the front without being seen. We were all near the lobby the entire time. There's no way he could have left without one of us noticing. We kind of joked about it and tried to move on, but there was definitely a weird energy in the place after that. A little after 8:20, Devon came back inside from taking out trash and told me that he had heard the toilet flush in the men's room while he was out back. He said nobody else had walked down that hallway in the last 20 minutes. That freaked him out enough that he didn't want to be back there alone. Tyler and Luis went to check the bathroom together, just in case, and when they came back, they were quiet. Later on, Tyler told me that while they were inside the bathroom, they both felt like someone was standing behind them. He said they looked in the mirror and for a split second, it looked like there was a figure behind them that wasn't supposed to be there. He didn't say it was a ghost or anything dramatic like that, but he said it gave him a feeling like they were being watched from just a few feet away. At 9:30, we locked the lobby doors like usual and started our final close-up routine. Jasmine kept drive-through running and the rest of us went into cleanup mode. Everything was going fine until about 10 p.m. when Jasmine called out from the drive-through window asking who had just unlocked the front doors. I walked over and saw both glass doors wide open, even though they had been locked shut earlier. None of us had touched them. The keys were still in the manager's drawer and the auto lock hadn't failed before. Tyler went and closed them again and checked the door latches, but he didn't find anything wrong with them. He looked a little nervous now too, which was a change from his usual chill attitude. At 10:43, I was in the office doing my timesheet. Devon went to grab the mop from the back hallway. He came running back a minute later and told us the men's bathroom door had slammed shut on its own. Really hard. That was it for me. Luis and I went down the hall with Devon to check. The hallway lights were dim but working. The bathroom door was shut tight. Tyler came down with the manager key and opened the door. There was nobody inside, but someone had used greasy fingers or maybe oil to write something across the mirror. It said, "I never left." We wiped it off without saying much. Everyone finished cleaning fast and didn't really speak again until we were in the parking lot. Tyler put in his 2 weeks shortly after that night. Devon transferred to another location across town. I kept working at that KFC for a few more months, but I stopped taking night shifts. I still don't know who that man was or how he got in and out without anyone noticing. It didn't feel like a ghost story. It felt more like someone had been hiding in that bathroom and knew exactly how to avoid being seen. That's what stuck with me the most. How close he was and how little we noticed. I was a shift lead at a KFC in Dayton, Ohio. The location was on Salem Avenue, right across from that closed-down AutoZone. It was an older store, built in the early 2000s. Pretty standard layout. Dining room up front, counter on the left, kitchen in back, hallway to the restrooms on the right. I'd worked there for about a year, long enough to stop feeling nervous during night shifts, long enough to think I had seen it all. That Tuesday started out normal. It was quiet, which is how we liked it. We had 5 people on that night. Me, Jenna on register, Tyrone on drive-thru, Vicky working fryers, and Selena closing lobby. Jenna was new, just started a few weeks before, but she was sharp. Vicky had been there longer than me. She ran the back like clockwork. Drive-thru slowed down around 8:45. We were already starting to clean the hot case and bag up leftover chicken for donations. It was the usual slow stretch after dinner rush. That's when I saw him. It was around 9:40 p.m. He walked in like any customer. Mid-30s, maybe early 40s. Shaved head, narrow face. Wore a black hoodie with the sleeves slightly rolled and jeans that were dark with wear. What stuck with me most? No mask. No sunglasses. He wasn't hiding. That stood out in 2023, because even after the pandemic, most late-night walk-ins still wore masks or hats. Not this guy. He walked up slowly. Jenna gave the standard greeting. "Hi. Welcome to KFC. What can I get for you?" He didn't answer. He just looked at her, then reached under his hoodie and pulled out a silver pistol. No yelling. No threats. He pointed it at her stomach and said calmly, "Open the drawer." "You lock the door." I froze for half a second before I realized he meant me. I walked to the front entrance and pushed the thumb lock on both doors. My heart was racing, but I kept my hands visible. The guy didn't even twitch. Jenna opened the drawer, and I could see her hands shaking. He waved Vicky out of the kitchen. She dropped her tongs and came slowly, eyes wide. He motioned to the floor beside the drink station. "Sit down." Phones on the ground. We all placed our phones in a row. He watched closely, not blinking. Tyrone slipped quietly under the drive-thru counter and pressed the panic button. I saw him do it out of the corner of my eye. The silent alarm would ping dispatch. It usually takes about 4 to 7 minutes for a cruiser to arrive. But this guy, he wasn't in a rush. After collecting the money from the register, maybe $300 tops, he sat down. Booth by the window, seat closest to the door. He rested the gun on the table, not waving it, not pointing it, just keeping it there like it was part of him. "We're gonna sit here quiet," he said. 3 minutes. That's all. None of us moved. It was dead silent. The only thing you could hear was the ticking wall clock above the bathrooms. I counted every second. At one point, Selena sniffled. She wasn't crying loud, just one of those tight breath panic sniffs you do when you're trying to hold it together. He looked at her, not angry, just blank. "You're fine," he said. "Nobody here has to get hurt." After the 3 minutes, he stood up and looked at each of us one by one. Then he grabbed the till money and walked calmly toward the back hallway. That's the one that leads to the restroom and employee door. As he left, he said, "If anyone follows me, I'll come back." You don't want that. The back door wasn't connected to the alarm system. The buzzer was broken. We heard it creak open and slam shut. Tyrone checked the camera feed, but it didn't show much. Our system had a big blind spot over the booths. All they caught was him standing at the counter. No plates, no face shot clean enough to run. Police arrived maybe 6 minutes after he left. We gave descriptions. They checked the surrounding area but didn't find him. The footage was useless. The detective that came in the next morning showed us a photo. Same guy, same hoodie, same gun. He'd hit 2 KFCs and a Taco Bell that month. Every time with no mask, no gloves. Always calm, always deliberate, never violent, never in a rush. The theory is he wants people to remember his face. Maybe it's a power thing. Maybe he thinks it makes him less suspicious if he's not hiding. Whatever the reason, he was never caught. What bothered me most was how ordinary he looked. He could have been any guy waiting in line behind you at Walmart. And how calm he was. Like he'd done it before, maybe more times than we'll ever know. I stayed another 3 months, but I never closed again. After that, I always made sure there were 2 people at the counter. I kept a box cutter on me. Stupid, I know, but it made me feel a little better. That night taught me something. It's not always the loud ones you should fear. Sometimes the real danger walks in quiet, speaks clearly, and leaves you frozen, because you realize too late that they never once planned to run.